Lighting tankers in every community, so we wanted to build a tanker-free home, and we achieved that. So grey recycling. So these were things, okay, naturally as an architect who's got a little nature-inclined initiatives. So it was a very normal thing for me to do. But two things that changed my life in 2016. One, the summer of 2016, where most of the city of Hyderabad suffered water. In the high-tech city, most of the communities around my community were buying enormous amount of tankers and were rationing water. First time I got to see this scenario. And our community and the efforts that we put on our community, 2016 summer, we didn't have to buy a single tanker. Now that was an eye-opener to me, that we put the right efforts. And this is what we are going to see going further. So I thought there we have a solution. The second event was the TEDx Salon event. So it was a one-day event which talked about water. We actually had a discussion on the dry part lake bed of Gandipet. Gandipet was the only resource for Hyderabad, the whole of Hyderabad in the 1920s. That was another eye-opener to see how the city has traveled for water. 30 kilometers, from 0 to 30 kilometers, Himayat and the Osman Sagar. Then we moved in the 70s to Manjira and Singur, 2004 to Nagarjuna Sagar, and 2014 we are at the Krishna and Godavari beds, which are irrigation beds which brought water to us. So I started understanding piece by piece and wanted to know what can be done. So I became part of SAHE, Society for Advancement in Human Endeavor, and I didn't waste much time. I started working on simple campaigns because this is what I knew. It can activate a community, make them water rich, and also started talking to them about grey recycling and stuff. So I worked on temples, communities, hospitals, apartment communities, schools, institutions, so wherever I could get my hand at. So we did make impact. Soon we did about 120 community and government events, and you can see KTR Garu there supporting our lake initiative. Well, now why did the lake also become part of the plan? Because lakes are the largest catchment for rainwater today. And there's no way we can have rainwater in our lakes today because they're sewage filled. All this required huge community building because today we have the resources, we have the research, we have all kinds of mechanisms, but what's missing is a community inclusive initiative. So this is what that happened with the lake. I don't want to go with the lake restoration that we did. The first thing we did, the biggest success was to get biodiversity back to the lake. And you see the first two pictures where the communities with awareness took out the illegal inlets into the lake and actually put them into legal drains, applied for legal connections. So that was a very big change. And there, by decentralized action, we were able to pull out 25% of the pollution that we saw. And the same channels, we connected the rooftop water, which went into the lake, which gave fresh water to the lake. So these were all things that were covered, but you see at the bottom left, we actually trained 40 plumbers, created a portal for a common citizen to go online and actually get trained. These are MEP skilled plumbers. We trained them for rainwater harvesting needs and we connected them to social service providers. But what happened was, it didn't act the way we want. I mean, there was action, but didn't happen the way. I was looking at 40 plumbers becoming 4,000 plumbers in less than a year. So that was not happening. The crisis was much, much bigger. You see a small rain and you'll see urban flood, especially around high-tech city and most of the city. We are throwing pathogens all around the city. So just by doing a simple action of rainwater harvesting, not only are we avoiding an urban flood, but the kind of pollution that we are creating across the city is massive. This is another issue where, this is the lake that I'm working around. You see the live streams in 1995, which is not too far away. You see the picture today, I'm not able to find a foot of this stream. Groundwater erasing massively. These need to be, because this is an invisible story. You don't get to see these, so we don't pay attention to these. So a piecemeal approach of doing rainwater harvesting in this locality or that didn't work. We needed to look at a city-wide approach. That's when we started the Rainwater Project, which was very pertinent. We had to do this. We don't have 2 decades to solve this problem. We only have a few years to solve this problem. So we took inspiration from the superblock model in Barcelona, which was a very big success story where they solved their traffic issues, taking block by block. So we started working on one basin at a time. We divided Hyderabad into 98 basins, and we have already started working on 3 basins. So this is how we wanted to show impact. Yesterday somebody was talking about showing the numbers of how this can work. This is what we want to do. She did it with a slum. Now we want to do it in a very urban scenario. There are many people who want to go and work with villages or in the outskirts, but I think this help is required in a very urban scenario where most of us are educated, but we fail to do something as simple a thing like rainwater harvesting. So that's the lake that I'm working on. That's the block. So our campaign is going to be, do you want to make your block a super block? So that's Madhapur. Most of you in Hyderabad would know what is Madhapur. So the number of rooftops here, and there's a huge floating population in Madhapur. The water from these rooftops, just from rainwater, can take care of 60% of the needs of the population in Madhapur. But today Madhapur is spending 20 crores on tankers in 4 months. So something is wrong here, right? So how do we work? Simple. 2 strategies. We activate and we execute. We activate communities not by doing a door-to-door campaign, because we need to innovate even how we campaign to people. Maybe electronic signboards across each basin telling us what is your groundwater level today, what was it a few years ago, and where are you heading. Maybe a 1 minute or a few seconds of this awareness. Maybe we can build huge art installations that speak water in the city. We are also looking at heritage stepwells. You see a stepwell here. Our city is a heritage city. We have more than 40 stepwells. They will still work. The Badi Bauli that got restored can save more than 30 lakhs liters of water. Most stepwells can, so we've ignored our traditional systems as well. So everything that comes under a block, it can be a well. Can I have some water if you don't mind? Not just communities, residences, or built environments. We're also looking at wells, streams, the natural wells which are getting filled up today, all of it. And we're also going to look at dry patches that we can do plantation seriously, which can take groundwater inside. We're also looking at roads and medians where we can do bioswales and capture water. So basically covering the entire block. These are 19 different models we developed in our office this year for urban challenging spaces. You can use a car park to store more than 33,000 liters of water. So models like these, because sadly in rainwater harvesting, we've not got innovation yet. Any website that you see, any site that you see, we're only talking conventional systems. Today you have systems where there are no gravel, no sand methods, very easy to maintain. We have modular methods. We can even work with spaces where you only have 5 foot around the building, and without harming the structure, there are modular systems that we can create and store rainwater. What you see down there on the left is a park that gets inundated every year in Madhapur. So I'm working with GHMC to create rainwater harvesting zone. And every park in Hyderabad, if we can make it a rainwater recharge zone, it's going to become naturally 100% sustainable and green, and it will always remain green. Because today you see most parks, you see sewage in it. So we solve multiple problems by doing this. Simply with drip irrigation and storage, the park will be green forever, and just with rainwater. And these biospheres that you see in the modular systems and ferrocement tanks, Sri Lanka did this. Very cheap, it doesn't cost much, a few thousand rupees, and you can give storage systems for rainwater, and the overflow can be connected to maybe a community recharge. Maybe these smaller homes or smaller apartments do not have the funds, but they can have 2-3 apartments together, and we can do recharge wells outside, and they can have common channels to do this.